Hello, my companion in this quiet night. You are listening to Knowledge Before Sleep. Now, allow yourself to rest completely. Let your soft bed support your body, release your shoulders, relax every finger, and feel a sense of peace spreading through you. Take a deep breath in, carrying the freshness of Earth's atmosphere. Then slowly and gently breathe out, letting all the worries of the long day drift into the void. In this gentle darkness, I want to invite you to join me on the farthest journey humanity has ever dreamed of. We will not travel by spaceship, but by mind and imagination. We will leave behind the city lights, leave behind the green of the trees, and fly towards the brilliant red dot sparkling in the night sky. That is Mars. For a long time, the red planet has appeared in our minds as a new land, a promising plan B for the future. But behind the dazzling films and enticing invitations, there is a truth that few will tell you. The first people to set foot on Mars may never see their home, Earth, ever again. Imagine you are floating in the depths of space, looking back at the faint blue dot that is slowly shrinking until it vanishes completely into the eternal night. Before you is a world that does not welcome humans. It is not a new land to conquer, but a silent, dead rock, a hostile environment ready to break our will and our bodies at every turn. That journey is not a vacation, but one of the most complex technical challenges we have ever faced, where every law of physics seems to be working against life. Some call it humanity's greatest adventure, but others fear that it is, in fact, a one-way trip to a vast cemetery in the heart of the cosmos. In the next 15 chapters, we will peel back each layer of red dust to look at the truth. We will talk about the millions of miles that make one hesitate, about the invisible radiation that destroys cells, and about a loneliness that can crack even the strongest of souls. But do not worry. My voice will always be here, accompanying you in the silence, helping you discover the mysteries of the galaxy in the gentlest way before you drift into a deep sleep. Our journey begins with a question. Why is returning so difficult? Why does the universe set such cruel barriers for the children of Earth? Now, close your eyes, relax, and join me for the first chapter. We will begin with the telling numbers of distance and the fragile windows of time of the universe. In the silence of the night, try to imagine the farthest journey humanity has ever dreamed of. It is not a flight across the ocean, nor is it a trip around the world. It is the journey to Mars, our glowing red neighbor in the solar system. Many people still think that going to Mars is like catching a long-haul flight, that with enough fuel and courage, you can go and come back. But the truth is not so gentle. The universe has its own rules, its own physics puzzles that nature uses to challenge us at every turn. Let's start with the simplest yet most terrifying thing: distance. Mars is, on average, about 224 million kilometers from our Earth. But this number is actually a sweet deception. You see, neither Earth nor Mars stands still. They are like two athletes running on two circular tracks around the sun at different speeds. There are times when the two planets are on the same side of the sun that the distance between them shortens to about 54.4 million kilometers. But there are also times when Mars plods along to the other side of the solar system, pushing the distance between the two neighbors up to 400 million kilometers. This constant movement creates a concept that space engineers call a launch window. You can't just get on a ship and fly whenever you feel like it. The universe doesn't operate on human whims. To save the most fuel and time, scientists must wait until the two planets are in a special alignment, making the journey more feasible. This window only opens once every 26 months. That means if you miss your ship, you will have to patiently wait more than 2 years for the next chance. Try to think about that wait in the silent expanse of space, where every passing moment is a test of patience. With current engine technology, a one-way journey from Earth to Mars would take 6 to 7 months. 6 months is a long time, equivalent to half a year spent living in a cabin smaller than a tiny apartment. There, you would watch Earth, your lush green home, gradually shrink and shrink until it is just a faint blue dot, lonely in the vast darkness of the universe. You would be surrounded by absolute silence, with only the steady hum of machinery and the silent assault of cosmic rays. During that half year, your body will begin to feel the difference. Without gravity's pull, the muscles used for walking, standing, and running on Earth will begin to weaken and atrophy. No matter how much you try to exercise each day, your bones will also become more brittle, and your vision may decline due to pressure changes inside your skull. Scientists call this syndrome by a very long name. But you just need to understand that our human bodies were perfectly designed for Earth, not for the emptiness of space. But then, after all those hardships, you will arrive. You will set foot on the dry red soil of Mars, plant a flag, and take pictures that will go down in history. It is a moment of glory, of immense pride, but immediately after, a harsh reality will hit. The journey there was just the easy part. The return trip is when everything starts to fall apart. To leave Mars, you need a colossal amount of fuel, even more than when you left Earth, because now you must fight Mars's gravity and accelerate to catch up with Earth's orbit 7 months later. The math here is truly brutal. To return, you need at least 1,200 tons of propellant. To help you visualize, that weight is equivalent to 200 adult elephants combined. But these are not elephants, but the purest rocket fuel, something that absolutely does not exist on Mars. You can't dig it up from the ground, nor can you extract it from the barren red rocks. You have to make it yourself, right on this alien planet. And operating a sophisticated chemical plant on another planet is something we have never done, not even come close to being able to do. The night is late now, so let your mind rest. After understanding the vast distances and the harshness of the universe's time windows, we have just taken the first steps of this great journey, where our preparations still seem so small before the immensity of the galaxy. Fall into a deep sleep, so that tomorrow we may continue our expedition into the mysteries that lie ahead on the red planet. After you've overcome the noisy moments of the launch and left the protective embrace of Earth's atmosphere, you will find yourself entering a strangely silent state. This is when the real journey begins, a journey that lasts 7 long months in deep space to reach the red planet. Imagine you are floating inside a spaceship, where the living space is actually smaller than a tiny studio apartment on the ground. In this steel apartment, you will share every moment with a few crewmates, from eating and sleeping to strenuous hours of exercise. The first thing that will strongly affect your mind is the change in the view outside the small window. Earth, with its deep green forests, vast oceans, and loved ones, is now receding. You will watch your home shrink from a giant, vibrant sphere into a faint, lonely blue dot against the vast black backdrop of the universe. Psychologists call this the Earth out of view phenomenon. It is an indescribable feeling of loss, as the last visual link to your source of life is severed, leaving you in an empty space with nothing to hold on to. During these 7 months, your ship is not just a vehicle, but also a fragile fortress. All around you, invisible and dangerous cosmic rays are constantly attacking. No longer protected by Earth's magnetic field and thick atmosphere, your body will be exposed to an enormous amount of radiation, equivalent to getting a hip X-ray every single day for months on end. These high-energy particles can penetrate the ship's hull, go deep into every cell, destroy your genetic structure, and increase the risk of developing serious diseases later in life. It's not just radiation. The zero-gravity environment also begins its silent invasion of your body. Without Earth's gravitational pull holding things down, blood and other bodily fluids stop pooling in your legs and start flowing upward toward your head. This often causes astronauts' faces to become puffy and swollen, while their legs atrophy from no longer having to bear the body's weight. More seriously, your bones will begin to lose 1 to 2% of their density with each passing month, making them as brittle and fragile as dry twigs. The muscles that once helped you stand and walk steadily will also gradually wither away, having nothing to do in this floating environment. A strange condition scientists often mention is spaceflight-associated neuroocular syndrome. Due to the change in fluid pressure inside your skull, your eyeballs can become deformed and your optic nerve can be damaged. Many astronauts have noticed a significant decline in their vision, with everything before them becoming blurrier, and these may be permanent changes that cannot be reversed even after the journey ends. Besides the physical pain, psychological loneliness is a ghost that constantly lurks within the cramped spacecraft. Imagine you want to talk to your family back home. You send a greeting, but it takes anywhere from 3 to 22 minutes for that sound to cross millions of kilometers to reach Earth. And then, you have to wait just as long for a response. A simple conversation can stretch to nearly an hour, filled with immense silences. All comfort, all advice from the ground arrives delayed, making you feel truly abandoned in an ocean of stars. In that limited living space, the teammates who were once your close friends can also become a source of tension. When you have to see the same few faces day in and day out, hear the same old stories, and breathe the same recycled air, even the smallest habits can become incredibly annoying. A slightly loud chewing sound, an accidental brush of a hand, can ignite smoldering conflicts. Studies of isolated environments have shown that after about 6 months, human morale often begins to decline, leading to depression, anxiety, and a reduced ability to make sound decisions. Nevertheless, the ship silently hurtles on through the darkness, heading toward its glowing red target. Every passing day is a struggle to keep your mind sharp and your body from falling apart. 7 months in this metal box is not just a technological feat, but also a painful epic of human endurance. We choose to leave our lush green paradise to embark on a journey where the price to be paid can sometimes far exceed what we can imagine. We have just journeyed together through the long and challenging months inside the spaceship on its way to Mars. The feeling of confinement, the changes to the body, and the profound loneliness in space are what these pioneers must face. This information helps us to better appreciate the embrace of Earth and to more clearly understand the harshness of the vast universe. In the absolute silence of the universe, the human body begins a profound transformation that no amount of preparation on Earth can fully anticipate. We are children of Earth, molded over millions of years to stand firm under the gravity of our blue planet. But when we leave that embrace, every cell, every drop of blood in our veins begins to protest. The most noticeable change is in the skeletal and muscular systems. On Earth, you walk and carry heavy objects every day, forcing your bones and muscles to work constantly against gravity. However, on the red planet, gravity is only about 38% of what it is back home. This might sound pleasant, you can jump higher and move more lightly, but for your body, it's a silent disaster. No longer needing to bear weight, your bones start losing density at an alarming rate, about 1 to 2% each month. The calcium that makes your body strong is flushed out through your urine, leaving your bones as brittle and fragile as pieces of dry chalk. Your muscles, especially in your legs and back, having nothing to do, will also begin to atrophy and weaken quickly, no matter how hard you exercise each day. It's not just your bones and muscles. Your cardiovascular system also begins a risky reset. Under low gravity, blood no longer pools in your legs, but flows upward to your chest and head. You'll feel your face become puffy, while your legs look noticeably thinner. The heart, our most durable pump, no longer has to work as hard to push blood up from the legs. It will gradually shrink in size and become less efficient at combating Earth's gravity should you ever plan to return. One of the most silent and terrifying dangers is the assault of cosmic radiation. Once you leave the protection of Earth's magnetic field, your body is like a target in a shower of microscopic, invisible bullets. These high-energy particles can penetrate the thickest ship hull, go straight into every cell, and sever precious DNA strands. Scientists have calculated that an astronaut on the way to Mars will be exposed to a radiation dose equivalent to getting a hip X-ray every day for over a year. This destruction at the molecular level increases the risk of cancer by 5 to 10%, while also causing permanent damage to your nervous system and cognitive abilities. Most recently, studies published in June of 2024 have revealed a haunting new risk: kidney damage. The combination of cosmic radiation and the microgravity environment overworks the kidneys as they struggle to filter minerals being shed from the bones. These changes can lead to permanent kidney failure or the formation of excruciatingly painful kidney stones in the vastness of space, where there are no hospitals or specialists to help you. Your vision is not exempt from this spiral of changes. As fluid shifts to your head, the pressure inside your skull increases, pressing on the back of your eyeballs and deforming their shape. This syndrome can cause your vision to become permanently blurred, turning the vibrant images of the cosmos into faint, unrecognizable halos of light. The most troubling thing for scientists is the body's over-adaptation to the new environment. After months or years of living in Mars's weak gravity, your body will start to believe that this is its new normal. It will cut away what it deems superfluous, like dense bones or a strong heart muscle, to conserve energy. And then, a painful paradox occurs. Earth, the place where you were born and raised, will become a foreign and brutal planet to you. If you were to return, your weakened skeleton would be unable to support your body under Earth's gravity, and your weakened heart wouldn't be strong enough to pump blood to your brain, causing you to collapse the moment you touched your homeland. The journey to the Red Planet is not just about conquering spatial distances, but also a gamble with life itself and the very integrity of the human body. We are trying to place a creature of Earth into an environment that nature never prepared for us. Each step on the red sand may be a testament to human intellect, but it is also a mark of biology's betrayal of its own origins. We have just delved deep into every corner of the body to see the incredible and risky transformations that occur when humans leave Earth. This knowledge shows us that the true cost of space exploration isn't just measured in money, but also in the trade-offs of health and the future of its pioneers. Hold this piece in your mind, because the next challenges on the Red Planet still have much more waiting for us to discover. As your ship begins to approach the Martian atmosphere, you will realize an ironic truth. The atmosphere here is very thin, less than 1% as thick as Earth's. On our home planet, the dense air acts as a giant cushion, creating natural drag to slow down any object falling through it. But on Mars, that layer of gas is so thin it's almost non-existent for heavy spacecraft. It isn't thick enough to help you slow down with conventional parachutes, but it's just thick enough to create horrendous friction and heat that can incinerate the ship's hull in an instant. Let's try to imagine what we've accomplished so far. To date, humans have succeeded in landing robotic rovers like Perseverance on the surface of the Red Planet. But Perseverance weighs only about 1 ton. To land that 1 ton of equipment, NASA scientists had to use the most complex techniques, from a heat shield and super strong parachutes to the sophisticated sky crane system. 1 ton is the absolute limit that humanity's current technology can achieve on Mars. But a mission to take humans to Mars is entirely different. To sustain the astronauts' lives and carry enough equipment for the return journey, the landing craft would need to weigh between 50 and 100 tons. This is precisely where all current scientific theories hit a brick wall. With a massive weight, 50 to 100 times that of the Perseverance rover, parachutes would be torn to shreds instantly, unable to bear the load. Shock-absorbing airbags or the sky crane system would also become useless against the momentum of a multi-ton building, hurtling down through an atmosphere too thin to create significant drag. Engineers have known this for decades, and the painful truth is that we still have no real solution. New landing systems must be developed from scratch, tested through countless expensive, billion-dollar unmanned missions, where every failure is an agonizing step backward. If we can't safely land a ship weighing hundreds of tons, we will never be able to bring humans back, because to return to orbit, you need a launch vehicle with thousands of tons of fuel, and that thing must already be sitting on the surface of Mars before you even think about leaving. This is a grim, vicious cycle. To bring people back, you need to land an extremely heavy ship. But to land an extremely heavy ship, you need a technology that we do not yet possess. Even if you solve the fuel or survival problems, gently touching down on the surface remains a narrow, luck-dependent window. One mistake in the angle of approach, one minor glitch in the retro rocket system used for deceleration, and everything will turn to dust in that dry atmosphere. Imagine the feeling of an astronaut inside that capsule. You're plummeting at thousands of kilometers per hour, looking through the window at a blazing red expanse of dust and rock approaching at terrifying speed. You know you're betting your life on technologies that have never been tested on such a massive scale. The outside pressure is only about 610 pascals, far less than on Earth, making the space outside the ship essentially a vacuum. If your spacesuit had the tiniest leak during landing, you would lose consciousness in just 15 seconds as the carbon dioxide in your blood began to bubble. The outside temperature is no more pleasant, fluctuating from -175 degrees Celsius at night to 30 degrees Celsius during the day. Your ship must be a perfect fortress to withstand these harsh conditions from the very first moment it touches the sandy dust. And that's just the beginning. Even if you land successfully, you still face the reality that your ship may have been damaged during the violent landing process, and you will have to survive in a hostile environment for 16 months before the next launch window opens. The greatest fear is not immediate death, but being stranded. Once you've landed, there's no turning back, no rescue team that can reach you in time if the ship fails. You are 224 million kilometers from the nearest hardware store. Every piece of equipment must function perfectly for years, amid dust storms and the assault of cosmic rays. The Martian sky at sunset can have a dreamy, pale blue hue, but behind that beauty lies a deadly trap that humanity is trying to overcome. We yearn to set foot there, to be written into history, but the price of a single failed landing is too great. Perhaps what we see in the glossy promotional videos about the future on Mars is only half the truth. The other half lies in the cold calculations of engineers, where they admit that we are still not ready to safely land an object as heavy as a human mission on the red planet. As we end this chapter, we realize that the furthest distance sometimes isn't measured in kilometers, but in the few short minutes as the ship cuts through the atmosphere to touch the ground. Those are the moments that decide between glory and dust. Let your mind rest and drift into sleep with an understanding of our limitations. Tomorrow, we will explore a chemical miracle where humans attempt to create life and energy from the toxic atmosphere of Mars itself. When you stand on the surface of Mars, the first thing you'll realize is the ultimate solitude. You are 224 million kilometers from the nearest hardware store or any supply station. Everything you need to survive and to return must be calculated in advance, or more miraculously, must be created from what this barren planet itself provides. The greatest challenge lies in one cruel number. 1,200 tons. That is the minimum mass of propellant a spacecraft needs to overcome Mars's gravity and begin the journey back to Earth. Imagine the weight of 200 adult elephants, but instead of flesh and bone, it's ultra-pure, liquid rocket fuel. This fuel is completely unavailable on Mars. You can't mine it or extract it from the rocks. You have to make it yourself. Scientists have proposed a solution called the Sabatier reaction, a chemical process that sounds like a miracle in the middle of a cosmic desert. The idea begins with utilizing what Mars has most in abundance: its atmosphere. About 95% of the thin air here is carbon dioxide. The Sabatier reaction would take this plentiful carbon dioxide and combine it with hydrogen with the help of special catalysts at high temperatures. The result of this chemical marriage would be two incredibly precious things: methane for rocket fuel and water. It sounds simple and promising, but when you get into the details, this miracle demands an incredibly high technical price. The first ingredient, carbon dioxide, is readily available, but the second ingredient, hydrogen, is a difficult problem. You must either bring hydrogen from Earth or find a way to extract it from the water ice buried deep beneath the Martian surface. Water does exist on Mars, but it doesn't flow in streams or lakes. It hides as ice, buried under a layer of permafrost. To reach that water source, autonomous robots must perform incredibly strenuous tasks, drilling tens of meters deep through soil and rock as hard as steel. This is a hugely energy-intensive operation, requiring the most durable mechanical systems humans have ever built. These drills must operate in a hostile environment where the temperature can change dramatically from 30 degrees Celsius during the day to negative 175 degrees Celsius at night. The ground we drill through contains not only rock, but also toxic salts called perchlorates, which can corrode machinery and endanger human life if inhaled. Imagine a sophisticated chemical plant operating fully autonomously amid dust storms that can last for months. No technician can come to fix it if a pump fails or a pipe leaks. Every component must function perfectly for 16 straight months on the surface of Mars just to fill the fuel tanks for the return trip. 16 months is an incredibly long time, where your equipment must withstand radiation and fine dust particles capable of getting into the smallest crevices of machinery. Yet, even if we manage to create water and oxygen from these chemical reactions, another paradox emerges. In long-term settlement plans, humans intend to grow plants in sealed greenhouses to provide their own food. The plants would perform photosynthesis, taking in carbon dioxide and releasing oxygen. This sounds wonderful until computer simulations reveal a surprising truth. If you grow enough food to sustain a settlement, the amount of oxygen produced becomes excessive. In a closed environment, an overly high oxygen concentration turns everything into fuel for fires and becomes toxic to the human body itself. You would face the ironic situation of having to vent precious oxygen out into space just to keep your habitat from exploding or becoming toxic. Every solution on the red planet seems to lead to a new problem, like a labyrinth with no exit. Even if that chemical miracle could be achieved, it remains as fragile as a silk thread hanging over a chasm. Just one small error in the electrolysis of water to separate hydrogen, or a fault in the cooling system to liquefy methane, and the entire plan to return home would go up in smoke. Under the faint light of the stars in the Martian sky, those automated chemical plants continue to work tirelessly, the steady hum of machines echoing in the silent night. They are the breath, the hope, but also a reminder of humanity's smallness in the face of the universe's harshness. We are trying to use our intellect to twist the nature of a dead planet, turning its toxic gases into a source of life and the power for flight. Let this knowledge of wonder and difficulty settle in your mind. We've seen that humans fight not just with muscle, but with a deep understanding of every molecule, every tiny chemical reaction. That persistence is admirable, but it also shows just how distant the conquest of Mars still is. Now, let yourself rest, sinking into a peaceful sleep, where there are no cold numbers or complex reactions, only the calm serenity of the night. In the vastness of space, water is not only the source of life, but also the key for us to leave Mars and return home. To create 1,200 tons of fuel for the return journey, scientists calculate that we need to extract over 1,000 tons of water on site. But water on Mars doesn't flow gently in streams or glitter like a lake under the sunday. It exists as blocks of ice, as hard as steel, buried deep beneath the crimson dust. This hunt begins by confronting the harsh reality of the red planet's geology. To reach those precious ice deposits, we are forced to drill through layers of permafrost. This is no simple task. You have to imagine drills penetrating tens of meters underground. It's a job that demands immense energy and extremely sophisticated robotic systems that humanity has not yet perfected. The soil we are drilling through is called regolith, but it is far from pure. It is filled with toxic salts called perchlorates. These salts are like unwelcome guests. Not only are they toxic to the human body, but they are also corrosive, capable of damaging delicate mechanical parts and machinery. In the darkness beneath the Martian surface, the drills must work tirelessly under immense pressure and the constant chemical assault from these salts. Temperature is the next enemy in this hunt. Mars lacks a thick atmosphere to retain heat, causing temperatures to fluctuate horrifically. During the day, it can be a warm 30 degrees Celsius, but when night falls, it can plummet drastically to negative 175 degrees Celsius. The drills and water extraction systems must endure constant material expansion and contraction due to the temperature. A single small crack caused by the cold could shut down the entire system. And you know, at a distance of 224 million kilometers, there are no repair technicians or parts stores to call for help. Think of the robotic arms toiling away in solitude. They must deal with blinding dust storms on their own, storms that can block out the sun for months on end. Martian dust is so fine that it gets into every crevice, eroding joints and damaging the seals of the water extraction system. If these dust particles contaminate the water we've worked so hard to extract, they will pollute the entire recycling system and turn our source of hope into a toxic mixture. Besides that, turning ice into liquid water and then into hydrogen and oxygen for fuel is an incredibly energy-intensive chemical process. You would need nuclear power plants or vast solar farms to sustain this operation. But solar panels are easily disabled by dust storms. Once the power is cut, the ice deposits will freeze solid again, and all human efforts will be, quite literally, frozen. The hunt for water on the red planet is actually a battle to snatch life from the jaws of death. We are trying to find a fragile sliver of hope beneath the hostile regolith. Every drop of water painstakingly extracted from the Martian soil is steeped in the sweat, intellect, and immeasurable risks of its pioneers. It reminds us that in a place where nature shows no favor to humankind, even the most basic resources must be bought at an extremely high price. Under the faint light of distant stars, the drills work on in silence, their mechanical hum echoing steadily in the quiet expanse. It is the sound of faith, but also a warning of our smallness before a planet that has long been dead. Let these thoughts drift away, allowing your mind to relax in the peace of tonight. We have seen how important water is and how difficult it is to find. When you stand on the surface of Mars, the first thing you'll feel through the visor of your spacesuit is an eerie, silent beauty. The sky isn't a deep blue like back home, but fades from a pale pink to a butterscotch orange due to the fine dust particles scattering the light. But behind that poetic beauty lies a harsh truth. You are standing in what is essentially a near-perfect vacuum. The Martian atmosphere is incredibly thin, with an average surface pressure of only about 610 pascals, which is less than 1% of the pressure we breathe on Earth. Imagine if your pressure suit were to spring a leak. You would have only a brief 15 seconds before you lose consciousness. In those 15 seconds, your body would undergo horrific changes that we usually only see in horror films. Because the external pressure is so low, the carbon dioxide and other gases dissolved in your blood would begin to bubble out of solution, like the fizz from a freshly opened bottle of soda. While your blood wouldn't literally boil from the heat, those gas bubbles would block circulation, causing irreversible damage in the blink of an eye. Even if you could breathe the Martian air, you wouldn't be able to survive. About 96% of the atmosphere here is carbon dioxide, a gas that we humans exhale, not inhale. The lack of oxygen and the extremely low pressure make this atmosphere completely incapable of protecting you from the dangers of space. On Earth, our thick atmosphere and strong magnetic field act as a giant shield, blocking most harmful radiation and vaporizing small meteoroids before they hit the ground. But on Mars, that shield vanished billions of years ago, along with the planet's decaying magnetic field. You would be completely exposed to streams of high-energy particles that penetrate everything, directly attacking the DNA structure of every cell in your body. The temperature on the red planet is also a symphony of extreme highs and lows. Because there is no atmosphere thick enough to retain heat, Mars cannot stay warm. On a beautiful summer day at the equator, the temperature can reach up to 30 degrees Celsius. A pleasant warmth similar to a sunny day on Earth. But as soon as the sun sets, the cold descends mercilessly, dragging the temperature down to negative 175 degrees Celsius. This abrupt temperature change demands that the climate control systems inside your spacesuit and habitat work perfectly, without a single minor fault. Just one power failure, causing the heating system to stop, would mean death by freezing would come faster than you can possibly imagine. In your enclosed habitat, every breath you take is controlled by machines. The life support system must constantly filter out the carbon dioxide you exhale and replenish it with fresh oxygen. It is a fragile, closed-loop cycle. Imagine the gentle hiss of oxygen circulating through the pipes. It is the only sound connecting you to life in the midst of a dead world. However, living in a sealed space with constantly recycled air also carries risks to your mental and physical health. The fine Martian dust, which is electrostatically charged and contains toxic salts, is always trying to find a way through the airlock seals and into your lungs. This dust isn't like dust on Earth, which has been worn smooth by water and wind over time. Martian dust is sharp, like microscopic shards of glass, and can cause permanent scarring in your lung tissue and poison your kidneys and thyroid. Under that thin atmosphere, sound also travels strangely. Because the air density is so low, sound cannot travel as far or as clearly as it does at home. All sounds become muffled, faint, deepening the sense of isolation. You could shout at the top of your lungs in the middle of the red desert, but the sound would be quickly swallowed by the silence of the near vacuum. That silence might soothe your soul for a moment, but in the long run, it would become a terrible psychological burden, reminding you that you are in a place where life was never meant to be. Every activity outside the habitat, even just a short walk to check equipment, is a perilous task. You must put on your cumbersome spacesuit, checking every seal, every joint, and the oxygen levels with the utmost care. That suit is your own personal planet, the only thing separating the warmth of life from the cold, empty void of space. Every time you step through the airlock, you are gambling against the unforgiving laws of physics in a world with no air. As night falls on the red planet, looking through the small porthole of your habitat, buried deep beneath the regolith to shield you from radiation, you will see Mars's two tiny moons gliding swiftly across the sky. You will yearn for the feeling of throwing open a window to let in a cool breeze, for the scent of grass and damp earth after a rain. But here, the wind only carries toxic dust, and the atmosphere is a silent enemy. Life in a world with no air is a relentless technological battle to keep the candle of human life from being extinguished by the harshness of nature. Let the images of the fragility of breath on the red planet slowly fade from your mind. Feel again the good fortune of being able to breathe the oxygen-rich atmosphere of Earth freely and easily. Let this peace guide you into a deep sleep, where you no longer have to worry about pressure or harmful radiation. Together, we have come to understand a part of Mars's harshness, and in turn, to cherish the blue planet we call home even more. When we gaze at Mars through the brilliant photos from rovers, that characteristic brick red color is, in fact, dust. The entire planet is covered in a layer of dust as fine as talcum powder, made up of iron oxide and silicate minerals. However, the dust on the red planet is not like the harmless particles that settle on your bookshelf or float in the morning sun at home. They are entirely different entities, carrying within them cruel physical properties. Each dust particle on Mars is incredibly small, averaging only about 3 micrometers, which is even smaller than a grain of pollen. Because there is no liquid water on this planet to wear down the sharp edges, and the winds, though strong, are not enough to round out the particles. Each tiny speck of dust has sharp crystal edges, like crystal blades. When you inhale them, they aren't just dust. They are millions of microscopic blades seeking to cut into delicate human lung tissue. What makes this dust even more frightening is its ability to attack purposefully through static electricity. In Mars's extremely dry environment, the dust particles always carry a slight electrical charge. They cling to everything they touch, from spacesuits and visors to solar panels. Scientists compare them to the white styrofoam peanuts often used for packing, the kind that stick to your hands even more tightly the more you try to brush them off. For machinery, this dust is a true nightmare. It wriggles into the smallest crevices, gets into joints, gaskets, and moving parts. There, it begins to act like a kind of grinding powder, crushing delicate components and destroying mechanical systems from the inside out. Remember the sad story of the Opportunity rover in 2018. A global dust storm erupted, obscuring the sky and coating its solar panels with a thick layer of dust. That resilient robotic explorer lost its power source, fell into hibernation, and never woke up again. That is a testament to the destructive power of dust against humanity's most advanced technologies. But the dust doesn't just destroy machines, it's also a poison to the human body. About 0.5% of the surface dust on Mars contains toxic perchlorate salts. These are salts that can destroy the thyroid gland, cause kidney damage, and disrupt the human endocrine system. No matter how careful you are, every time you step outside and return to the habitat, a certain amount of dust will cling to your spacesuit and follow you inside through the airlocks. You'll breathe it, eat it, and live with it for hundreds of days and nights. The most terrifying of all are the global dust storms. About once every 3 years, a colossal dust storm can engulf the entire planet and last for months on end. During those days, sunlight is blocked to the point where only about 1% of normal light gets through. The world outside your habitat will be nothing but a dark, hazy void filled with the sound of howling winds. You will be trapped inside 4 narrow walls, listening to the dust pelt against the steel hull, knowing that your solar panels are gradually losing their effectiveness. The fear of an energy shortage, combined with the prolonged darkness, will erode your mind faster than anything else. In that hostile environment, the planet doesn't seem neutral at all. It is actively trying to push away human presence. The dust particles are Mars's vanguard warriors, silently destroying everything from our equipment to our life force. Every step you take on the red planet will leave footprints in the dust. But that same dust is also trying to erase your very existence. As night falls, let the thoughts of those sharp dust particles fade away. Feel the cleanliness and safety of the room you're in, where there are no toxic salts or tiny crystal blades in the air. We have just journeyed through a challenging chapter to understand that sometimes the smallest things are the greatest barriers. Let your mind relax completely. Breathe in the fresh air of Earth and sink into a peaceful sleep. In the silent darkness of your room, try to imagine yourself standing on the surface of Mars on a quiet night. You look up at the sky, searching for a familiar sight. On Earth, we often look up to see the large, brilliant moon, to see the constellations that guide us. But here, when you look toward your home, you will no longer see a vast blue planet. Earth now appears as just a pale blue dot, small and faint, no different from the other distant stars in the galaxy. Space psychologists call this the Earth out of view phenomenon. This is a psychological experience unprecedented in human history. The astronauts on the International Space Station, though far away, can still look down and see the massive Earth filling their entire view. They can see familiar continents, swirling white clouds, and the sparkling lights of cities at night. That image is like an anchor for the soul, reminding them that home is just right down there. But on Mars, that anchor is completely broken. Earth becomes an abstract concept, a hazy memory of a place that perhaps only exists in myths. This feeling of loneliness doesn't just come from sight. It seeps deep into every moment you wait for a signal. On the red planet, you'll realize that the voice of a loved one no longer brings immediate comfort as it once did. The average distance of 224 million kilometers has created a deep temporal chasm. A radio signal traveling from Mars to Earth takes anywhere from 3 to 22 minutes, depending on their orbital positions. That means a simple question like, "How is everyone at home?" How would take up to 44 minutes to receive a reply. You will never have a real-time conversation with your family or friends again. All communication becomes delayed, voice messages stretched across the vastness of space. When you are experiencing a panic attack, a deep sadness, or simply want to hear your partner's voice to calm down, you will have to face the terrifying silence of the cosmos for nearly an hour. In that time, your situation could have changed completely, and the advice sent from the ground might have become meaningless by the time it arrives. This separation gives rise to a state that researchers call behavioral health decrements. The human brain was not designed to withstand such absolute isolation. Without direct support from society and family, psychological issues begin to emerge and worsen over time. After the first 6 months or so, the initial excitement of the mission will give way to a sense of oppression and extreme boredom. In the confined space of the habitat, where you see only the same familiar faces day after day, your mind begins to undergo negative changes. Minor conflicts among crew members can explode into major disputes. Depression, anxiety, and a decline in concentration will silently attack you. And in a place where a small mistake in checking the oxygen system could kill everyone, a decline in mental alertness is a death sentence hanging over your head. The fear of Earth disappearing is not just about losing a beautiful image. It's about losing the final anchor of human existence. You will realize you are in the middle of an ocean of darkness, where even the light from your home star feels foreign. This loneliness seeps into your very bones, changing your nature, turning even the most courageous heroes into lost souls amidst the red dust and cold winds. Allow yourself to relax completely and breathe steadily. We have understood the hearts of pioneers as they look back at their distant home. That feeling is heavy, but it also helps us appreciate every call, every greeting, and every glance from the people around us right now on our dear blue planet. Let the peace of Earth embrace you, guiding you into a beautiful dream where there are no millions of miles of distance or the vast silence of the universe. The journey to Mars is not just a feat of engineering, but also a brutal test of human nature. Try to imagine living for 3 consecutive years in a confined space, with no privacy, no escape, and no new faces. Psychology researchers call this a psychological pressure cooker, where all emotions are compressed and can explode at any moment. Every long-duration mission goes through certain psychological phases. The first is usually euphoria. Those are the first few weeks, maybe even the first couple of months, when you're fired up about the mission, overwhelmed by the beauty of the cosmos, and feel a tight bond with your crewmates. But then, that euphoria fades to make way for the reality phase. The environment is no longer new. It starts to feel oppressive. The smallest habits of your crewmates chewing a little too loudly, arranging their things differently than you would, or even a repetitive tone of voice can all become sources of endless irritation. On Earth, you could go for a walk to clear your head. But here, you can't go anywhere. You are trapped with those annoyances for hundreds of days and nights. Research from Antarctic stations, which offer the closest environment to Mars, has revealed a disturbing pattern. After about 6 months, psychological problems often begin to surface. Crew cohesion deteriorates, replaced by rising depression and anxiety. Some people become lethargic, losing their motivation to work, while others become irritable and prone to conflict. The real danger is that, on the red planet, your mind is the most critical control system. A depressed astronaut might lose focus for just 30 seconds, long enough to forget to seal a pressure hatch properly. Someone with severe anxiety might make impulsive decisions in an emergency, endangering the entire mission. In a place where death is only a thin steel hull away, any fracture in the psyche is a direct threat to survival. Here are the main factors that make the human psyche vulnerable to collapse on the red planet. Prolonged monotony. Repeating the same tasks, eating the same foods, and seeing the same red landscapes leaves the brain starved for stimulation. Lack of privacy. In a small habitat, your every move is observed by others, meaning you can never truly feel at ease. Sleep disruption. A day on Mars is 24 hours and 39 minutes long. This small difference from Earth will gradually throw off your circadian rhythm, leading to chronic sleep deprivation, reduced emotional regulation, and cognitive decline. The pressure of isolation. Knowing that no rescue can reach you for at least 2 years creates a terrible psychological burden. The Mars 500 experiment, where 6 crew members were isolated for 520 days on Earth, proved this. Even though they knew they were safe and could leave if needed, the astronauts still experienced serious problems with sleep and depression. On the real red planet, with no escape button, these pressures would be exponentially greater. Another aspect, rarely discussed, is the breakdown of the leadership structure. Who really has the final say when mission control on Earth is a 20-minute communication lag away? Conflicts over management styles and cultural differences in an international crew can easily escalate into bitter confrontations. The commander carries an immense responsibility, keeping everyone alive and functional while also battling their own private fears. In the darkness of a long Martian night, you would realize that while the body can be trained to withstand radiation or low gravity, the human mind is a far more fragile entity. You can measure bone density loss or muscle atrophy, but it's very difficult to quantify the moment a soul decides it's had enough. Once a crack appears, it can lead to catastrophic consequences that no psychological test on the ground could ever predict. We have just delved into the dark corners of the human mind when faced with endless solitude. These fractures remind us that connection and community are what truly define humanity. Feel the warmth and peace from the relationships around you right now, here on our home planet, Earth. Those are priceless gifts that no space voyage can ever replace. Let these thoughts settle, making way for stillness and rest. We will explore the next set of challenges together in the following chapter, where we will face medical emergencies in the vastness of space. In the darkness of the habitat, surrounded by a world of red rock and dust, the hum of the life support system is the only sound that reminds you you're alive. But imagine, one quiet night, a crewmate of yours suddenly feels a sharp pain in their lower abdomen. The pain grows steadily, a dull and intense ache. It could be acute appendicitis. On Earth, this is a common medical situation, requiring a short surgery and a few days of rest for a full recovery. But here, 224 million kilometers from home, appendicitis could be a death sentence. The first and greatest challenge is the distance and the delay. You can't call an ambulance, nor can you request a specialist to assist you immediately. All communication with Earth is subject to a delay of 20 to 44 minutes for a round trip. In an emergency surgery where every second is more precious than gold, having to wait nearly an hour to get a piece of advice from a doctor on the ground is unacceptable. You are completely on your own with what you have. The medical equipment on Mars is also extremely limited due to strict weight constraints during launch. Every kilogram of equipment has to be carefully weighed against food, water, and machine parts. Therefore, your habitat can only be equipped with the most basic surgical tools, a few essential medications, and simple diagnostic devices. You won't have a giant MRI machine, no modern sterile operating room, and most importantly, no specialists for every field. Your crewmates are likely people with basic medical knowledge or who went through a crash course in emergency surgery before the mission. Picture the scene of a surgery taking place right in the cramped habitat where you've been living for months. This is not a perfectly sterile environment. Mars dust, with its tiny, electrostatically charged and toxic salt particles, is always trying to get inside and could directly contaminate the incision. The people performing the surgery might have trembling hands due to muscle atrophy after months in a low-gravity environment. Their vision might also be blurred due to changes in intracranial pressure. Things get even worse as human biology changes in space. At 0.38 Earth gravity, blood doesn't circulate normally. Blood pressure changes, and the body's ability to heal wounds is significantly reduced. The astronauts' immune systems are also weakened from constant exposure to cosmic radiation. More terrifyingly, studies have shown that bacteria in space can become more virulent and more resistant to antibiotics than on Earth. A small infection that would be easily treatable at home could lead to sepsis and death on the red planet. It's not just internal medical cases. Physical injuries are also a nightmare. Human bones on Mars will gradually become more brittle, losing 1 to 2% of their density each month. A simple fall could lead to a fracture. Setting a bone might seem straightforward, but whether it can heal properly in a low-gravity environment remains a huge question that science has yet to answer. The injured person could be left permanently disabled, no longer able to perform life-sustaining tasks for the mission. Even seemingly simple dental problems can become critical. An untreated tooth infection can spread to the blood, causing life-threatening complications. On Mars, you would have to pull your own tooth or perform other painful procedures with rudimentary tools and a limited supply of anesthetic. And then, there's a question no one wants to ask, but is always on everyone's mind. What happens if a crew member dies on Mars? You can't bury them outside, because digging through the permafrost in a spacesuit is an extremely dangerous and exhausting task. You can't cremate them either, as fuel is incredibly precious. Perhaps the body of your crewmate would have to be frozen and stored outside the habitat until the mission ends. Every day you step outside to work, you would have to see the figure of your fallen friend, a painful reminder of failure and the cost of the journey. The psychological burden on the person performing the medical care is immense. They would have to live with the haunting thought that they might be directly responsible for their friend's death due to a lack of skill or equipment. That grief and guilt could shatter the morale of the survivors, making an already difficult mission even more hopeless. As we conclude this chapter, we realize just how fragile human life is when it leaves the protection of Earth. Every breath, every healthy heartbeat we have right now is a priceless gift. Let's cherish our own health and the medical care we so easily take for granted. Now, let your mind relax, feel the peace, and drift into a deep sleep. We will meet again in the next chapter to learn about the threat of invisible radiation, silently ravaging the human body. In the absolute silence of Mars, there is something the human eye can never see, but which is silently deciding the fate of every astronaut. That is cosmic radiation. Here, on our home planet, Earth, we are enveloped by a powerful magnetic field and a dense atmosphere which act as a giant shield, protecting us from high-energy particles from the Sun and the depths of the Milky Way. But Mars lost its magnetic field billions of years ago, and its atmosphere is too thin to stop anything. When you set foot here, you are completely exposed to streams of energy particles that can penetrate through anything. The assault begins the moment your ship leaves Earth's orbit. During the 7-month journey to the Red Planet, astronauts will absorb a radiation dose of about 0.66 sieverts. To put that into perspective, the maximum permissible radiation limit for a NASA astronaut's entire career is only 1 sievert. This means that the round trip alone uses up nearly 2/3 of your entire lifetime radiation budget. If you were thinking of making a second trip, your body simply couldn't take it. The devastation occurs at the molecular level, deep inside every cell. These high-energy particles are like invisible blades, hurtling at nearly the speed of light and severing precious DNA strands. Our bodies have miraculous self-repair mechanisms, but they are never perfect. Every time a piece of DNA is reconnected incorrectly, a mutation occurs. Some mutations are harmless, but others will turn your cells into cancer cells. Scientists estimate that a mission to Mars will increase the risk of dying from cancer by about 5 to 10%. Some models even predict this number could be as high as 20%. But cancer isn't the only threat. Cosmic radiation also attacks the cardiovascular system, increasing the risk of heart disease, stroke, and circulatory problems. Your brain is also in danger as nerve cells are damaged, leading to cognitive decline, memory loss, and difficulty with complex thinking. NASA classifies these risks as red risks, the highest warning level, because they are certain to happen and their consequences are incredibly severe. In June of 2024, a new study issued a haunting warning about kidney health. The combination of radiation and the microgravity environment causes severe damage to the kidneys and can lead to permanent kidney failure. On a planet with no dialysis machines or organ transplant surgery, kidney failure is a quiet but devastating end. You might be wondering, why don't we just build better shields? The answer lies in the harsh realities of physics. Lead is a good radiation blocker, but it's far too heavy to launch into space. Water is also a solution, but you would need a layer of water, several meters thick, surrounding the habitat to be truly safe, which would increase the ship's mass to an unlaunchable level. Some designs propose burying the settlement deep under the Martian soil. However, living in dark caves without windows or natural light for 16 months would trigger other severe psychological crises. And most importantly, no amount of soil can protect you during the 14 months of travel to and from the planets. The journey to Mars is, in reality, a trade-off between the desire for glory and the integrity of your own body. Every cell within you is silently being altered, transforming you into a different entity from the inside out. This cellular betrayal doesn't happen instantly. It's like an hourglass running in reverse. Every grain of sand that falls is a piece of DNA lost, another risk of disease rising. Under the starry sky tonight, feel the absolute safety of being enveloped by Earth's magnetic field and dense atmosphere. Take a deep breath of fresh air, knowing that every cell in your body is protected and cherished. Together, we have come to understand one of humanity's most fearsome enemies in the universe, which makes us appreciate the peaceful life we have even more. Let your mind rest, sinking into the silence of the night. We will meet again in the next chapter to learn about the body's painful adaptations and why, once you've been on Mars for too long, you might never be able to come back. In the quiet of the Mars habitat, you might feel incredibly light. With gravity at only 38% of Earth's, all your movements become more graceful. You can jump higher, carry heavy objects you could never lift back home. At first, this seems like a gift, a liberation from the oppressive weight of the blue planet. But behind that lightness, a grim process of biological decay is unfolding in every one of your cells. The human body is a marvel of evolution, but it was perfectly designed to live only under the 1G pull of Earth. When you spend 16 months on Mars, your body begins to mistake this low-gravity environment for its new, permanent state. The skeletal system, the very pillar that supports your entire body, begins to self-destruct. With each passing month, your bones lose 1 to 2% of their density. Precious minerals like calcium are leached from your bones because your body thinks you no longer need such a strong frame to fight against gravity. At the same time, your muscles begin their own painful exodus. Even if you work out diligently every day on specialized equipment, your muscles will relentlessly atrophy and weaken. This is especially true for the muscle groups in your legs and back, the very ones that worked hardest to keep you upright on Earth, which are now gradually becoming soft due to the absence of gravity. Even more frightening are the changes to your cardiovascular system. Your heart, that most resilient pump, no longer has to struggle to push blood from your legs up to your brain against the strong pull of home. It begins to adjust, shrinking in size and becoming lazier in maintaining blood pressure. Your vascular system also recalibrates to fit the 0.38 G environment. Every organ in your body is performing a symphony of adaptation, but it's a sad song for your return journey. Scientists at space agencies like NASA are facing a haunting question they rarely discuss publicly. Can the human body withstand intermediate gravity levels like those on Mars for long periods? All the data we have now comes from astronauts living in the zero-gravity environment of the International Space Station, where they are completely weightless. We have never tested living in a place with low gravity like the Red Planet. Some studies suggest that gravity levels below 0.4 G are insufficient to maintain normal human physiological functions in the long term. At 0.38 G, Mars lies right on the edge of that biological collapse. Imagine, after 16 months on the Red Planet and another 7-month journey back, your ship finally touches Earth's atmosphere. But now, your home planet no longer greets you with a gentle embrace. The 1G pull of Earth has become a cruel, crushing force on your completely transformed body. Upon landing, you might be unable to stand on your own 2 feet. Your bones, now as brittle and porous as crystal, could shatter under your own body weight. Your weakened heart would struggle desperately to pump blood to your brain, causing you to pass out from lack of oxygen the moment you touch your home soil. This is the heartbreaking paradox of space travel. The better you adapt to survive on Mars, the more alien and unable to exist on Earth you become. Your biology has betrayed its origins. Earth, your beloved mother planet, has now become a toxic and hazardous environment for you. At that point, returning home could kill you even faster than staying on that barren red planet. The pioneers who go to Mars aren't just sacrificing months and years of their youth. They may be sacrificing their very ability to be an Earth human. Forever. They become beings trapped between 2 worlds, one where they cannot stay forever because of the harshness of radiation and dust storms, and one they can never return to because their own bodies have rejected its gravity. In the gentle light of tonight, feel the gentle weight of your body being cradled by the earth. Cherish every strong beat of your heart, the stability of your legs, and the strength of your bones. We are so fortunate to be born and to belong here, where every cell in our body is in perfect rhythm with the world around us. Let this peace guide you into a deep sleep, where there are no cruel transformations of gravity, only the embrace of our deep blue home. In the ambitious plans to turn Mars into a second home for humanity, we often see idyllic visions of happy families and children born on new soil. However, once we step away from the glossy brochures of exploration companies, we must confront a reality unprecedented in human history. The first children born on Mars will not just be citizens of a new planet. They will be biological beings, trapped in a prison of gravity and radiation. The first question scientists ask is, can humans even reproduce normally on the red planet? To date, we have absolutely no data on how a human embryo would develop in an environment with only 38% of Earth's gravity. Every biological system in our bodies, from cell division to how organs are formed, is programmed to operate under the 1G pull of our homeworld. A fetus developing in a low-gravity environment could suffer from severe deformities in bone structure and the formation of the nervous system. If a child is fortunate enough to be born healthy, its journey to maturity on the red planet will be a painful adaptation. During the first 15 years of life, when bones and muscles are in their most critical stage of development, the child's body will adjust to the 38% gravity environment. Their bones will grow longer, but also become much thinner and more brittle than those of children on Earth. Muscles won't need to develop much to support the body, leading to a frail and fragile physique. The cardiovascular system, especially the heart, won't be trained to pump blood against Earth's gravity, making their endurance extremely limited. The living environment for these children would also be a tremendous sacrifice. They would grow up in sealed habitats, possibly deep underground, to shield them from toxic cosmic rays. Instead of running under a blue sky, feeling a cool breeze, or playing on lush green grass, their world would be confined within cold metal walls and artificial light. Martian children will never know the smell of rain, the feeling of morning dew, or the sound of leaves rustling in the wind. To them, nature would be a distant luxury, existing only in old video clips sent from their ancestors' home. Most tragically, this incredible biological adaptation would become a sentence of permanent exile. A child born and raised on Mars would likely never be able to set foot on Earth. For a body accustomed to weak gravity, the powerful pull of its mother planet would become a cruel, crushing force. Their weak heart would be unable to pump blood to the brain, and their fragile skeleton would shatter under its own weight. They would become a new species of human. Let's call them Martians, imprisoned on the very planet of their birth by the boundaries of their own biology. This raises a profound ethical question. Do we have the right to create human beings who are deprived of the right to live on their species' home planet? We would be creating a generation of gravity prisoners, children who must bear the consequences of adult ambitions for exploration. They never had a choice in where they were born, yet they must accept a life full of limitations on their health and living space. Furthermore, social isolation and cultural differences would create deep divides. With a communication delay of up to 44 minutes for a round trip, children on the red planet could never have a real-time connection with Earth society. They would develop their own language, their own values, and perhaps a view of the blue planet they've never seen with their own eyes, that is filled with resentment or alienation. This divergence could lead to the formation of a completely different branch of humanity, where understanding between the two worlds becomes more fragile than ever. Looking into the eyes of an imagined child on Mars, we see not only the light of discovery, but also the profound sadness of absolute isolation. We are heading toward a future where humans might conquer the stars, but the price we pay could be the very freedom of future generations. Let these thoughts drift away with your steady breath. Feel the fortune of living in a world where children can run freely under the sun, breathe natural air, and have a wide-open future on their own home soil. We cherish life on Earth, where every biological system is nurtured by the perfect balance of creation. Let this peace guide you into a deep sleep. We will meet again in the final chapter to conclude this entire arduous journey of exploration, and to consider whether Mars is truly humanity's final destination. After everything we've learned, a cold reality begins to emerge from beneath the brilliant red dust and inspiring promotional videos. A journey to explore Mars, with our current technology, is not a leisurely stroll, but one of the most brutal challenges humanity has ever faced. We've seen that to return home, humans must solve the problem of producing 1,200 tons of fuel on a dead planet. That is a colossal amount, equivalent to 200 adult elephants, and to this day, we haven't been able to produce even a small amount of fuel on another planet. Every step on this journey is hindered by the very laws of the universe. The thin Martian atmosphere is not enough to slow down ships weighing tens of tons, making a safe human landing an unsolved problem. And even after setting foot on the ground, our bodies, the product of millions of years of evolution in Earth's 1G gravity, will begin to break down. Brittle bones, atrophied muscles, and a weakened heart are the price for 16 months of life in low gravity. Cosmic radiation also attacks relentlessly, damaging DNA and increasing the risk of cancer, as well as kidney and cardiovascular diseases. But perhaps the most terrifying thing lies not in machinery or biology, but in the human soul itself. The absolute isolation of seeing your home reduced to a pale blue dot, combined with the 44-minute silence during every communication, can break even the strongest wills. Internal conflicts in cramped spaces and a deep, aching homesickness will turn the settlement into a mental prison. Researchers admit that a psychological collapse could occur long before our bodies give out. Looking back at history, ambitious projects like Mars 1 collapsed due to their detachment from reality, leaving a lesson that enthusiasm cannot overcome the limits of physics and funding. Simulations show that with current technology, settlers could begin to run out of oxygen or food in less than 70 days. The cost of such a mission could reach $1 trillion, a staggering sum that could be used to solve a host of pressing problems right here on Earth, like climate change, disease, and poverty. So, why do we still yearn for it so badly? Is it because we see Mars as a plan B for humanity? The truth is, even an Earth ravaged by nuclear disaster or the most extreme climate change would still be many times more habitable than the red planet. Mars is not an escape route. It is a dead rock with no air to breathe and filled with toxic salts. A more realistic path would likely be to continue investing in intelligent, autonomous robots. Machines like Perseverance or the James Webb Telescope have been providing immense knowledge without risking human lives or spending trillions of dollars on life support systems. And if we want to test settlement, the Moon is the most logical stepping stone. At a distance of only 3 days travel instead of 9 months, and with nearly instantaneous communication, the Moon gives us a chance for rescue if something goes wrong. The journey to conquer space is an epic of human intellect, but it also requires humility before nature. We should not rush to send pioneers on a mission from which they may never return, not because they choose to stay, but because our technology is not yet capable of protecting them. Marketing one-way trips is an ethical gamble when we don't yet fully comprehend the suffering they will have to endure. Under the peaceful night sky of Earth, let your breath sink with the life all around you. Feel the preciousness of every cool gulp of oxygen, the stability of your feet on 1G ground, and the warmth of real-time connections with your loved ones. Our home is a priceless gift of creation, a place where every biological system operates perfectly to sustain us. And with that, the journey of knowledge before sleep to the Red Planet has come to an end. We hope this information has given you a deeper, more realistic perspective on the vast universe and has deepened your appreciation for the blue planet we call home. Let all your worries drift away and allow your mind to rest completely. Now, as the stories of the distant Red Planet gently come to a close, allow your mind to slowly return to your familiar room. Feel the solid ground beneath your back, the softness of your pillow, and the warmth spreading from your steady breath. We have traveled millions of kilometers in our minds, overcoming dust storms and the harsh barriers of the cosmos to realize one simple but priceless truth. We are home. Mars may forever be a brilliant dream in the night sky, a proud call to courage. But in this moment, amidst the quiet darkness, let gratitude fill your soul. Be grateful for the oxygen-rich air you are breathing freely, without any protective gear. Grateful for Earth's gentle 1G gravity, supporting every muscle and every bone without letting them weaken. Grateful for the magnetic field and dense atmosphere, silently acting as a shield, protecting you from the cruel cosmic radiation out there. Let your will rest. No more calculations of thousands of tons of fuel, no more worries about communication delays or the loneliness amid an ocean of stars. The vast universe out there continues to operate by its eternal laws, and you, a small yet wonderful part of humanity, have completed your journey of exploration for tonight. Imagine you are floating on a gentle river of light, where the stars are no longer distant, risky destinations, but warm lanterns guiding you into the realm of dreams. Feel your eyelids growing heavier and heavier with each slow breath. All the sounds of the outside world are fading away, making way for absolute silence and peace within your soul. You are safe. You are loved by this very blue planet. Let yourself melt into sleep, a deep and complete sleep where there is no red dust or cold wind, only gentle dreams of humanity's bright future among the stars. Sleep now, so that tomorrow, when the radiant sun appears, you will have a deeper love for every tree branch, every blade of grass, and every precious breath you take in your homeland. Sleep well and peacefully.